Hello friends, welcome to Squaird Plans, where creative planning and organization comes to life. I'm Stephanie, and today we're going to be talking about how I go about lettering in my planner, particularly my faith planner. I'll be sharing some of my tips and tricks on how to approach getting into hand lettering and improving your own handwriting along the way. Today's topic is on the embellishment and enhancement techniques for lettering that will give you some options for adding variety and meaning to your creations. So, if that sounds good, let's jump in. Okay, let me go ahead and start off by showing you guys a spread from this month's faith planner, just to give you an idea of how I use the lettering techniques in this series. So as you can see, there is quite a bit of variation here with the font styles and hand lettering styles that I use to letter the verse of the day, which is a main function of my faith planner weekly layout. I have completed 2 videos previously describing how to add variety to print styles of lettering and also cursive and brush lettering as well. Today we're going to be focusing on the embellishments and enhancements that you can do to those lettering styles in order to achieve even more variety in your planner. I'll also discuss how to use those enhancements to both emphasize and interpret specific words and phrases to make your hand lettering more impactful and eye-catching. So, the lettering enhancements and embellishments we're going to discuss today are those extras that you can add to words in order to make them more visually interesting. They can also be used to enhance the meaning of specific words or phrases to better describe their meaning. To start, one of the basic ways that you can add some enhancements to your lettering is to vary the pen stroke width. The first example shows you how you can use a thin line to achieve a diminished or light appearance with an ultrafine tip pen. Of course, the next example will be the opposite of that, where you use a thick line in order to make something stand out or create a sense of heaviness with a wide fine liner. And lastly, you could do a combination of these two using a brush tip pen, creating a sense of purpose or refinement to your hand-lettered words or phrases. The next grouping of styles that you can use to enhance your lettering begins with a serif style. Now, a serif is just a small stroke or line that is added to the end of a larger stroke or line in a letter. It tends to make the lettering feel a bit more stylish or refined in use, so it's best used with more traditional thoughts or words. Next, we have a block line style, which is a combination of block and line lettering, which will give emphasis without being overly heavy or too bold. It's fairly easy to create this style just by adding a thicker line to the horizontal lines in the letters. You can also decorate this with an additional color or pattern to bring more interest. The next style we'll talk about is just simple block letters. These are letters built in a block style format and usually have a feel of being loud or being chunky. For block letters, you can use an extra thick tipped pen, or you could also use a line styling of block lettering to simulate block letters as well. So the next grouping we're going to talk about works best when you have more than one color. So the first one is outlining, and that is when you just trace the edges of letters with a fine stroke. This is great for thick or block styles of lettering, but it can also be done with line styles as well. And for the first one, I've used just a simple thicker line and outlining it with a fine liner. But here too, you could also create more of a almost neon effect, outlining a fine liner with more of a block style. Next, we will talk about trace or glow. Tracing over a thin stroke with a thicker, lighter tone stroke for a trace, and similarly outlining a thick stroke with a lighter toned thick stroke to create more of a glowing appearance. Both of these have a similar effect, but you need to go about it in different ways in order to achieve it on a thicker or a thinner stroke. Next, we're going to talk about creating a shadow effect. This makes an illusion of a light source on the letters by tracing the edges only where the light would drop a shadow. It can be difficult, as you'll see in a minute, to do this, especially on thinner strokes, but thicker strokes tend to be more forgiving when you have mistakes. And basically what you need to do is figure out where you think the light is going to go and then only trace the edges where the light would cast a shadow. So, like I said, with the thin strokes, I didn't do that great a job, but you can kind of see the effect that it would make. For the thicker strokes, it's a lot more forgiving, and I'm using the same technique, just looks a little bit better, I think, with the thicker strokes. And finally, we'll talk about just some standard enhancements that you can put, including underlining a word. A simple underline of a word or a phrase can make it stand out among similarly styled words and is a way to bring emphasis when you don't want to change the style of the lettering. You can also add in color to make it a little bit more unique and bold as well. Highlight would be the next technique. And that's also a similar style for when you have words that are all in a same type of format to bring emphasis to those words. And you simply need to strike through a word with another color using a thick covering stroke, again, usually for emphasis. And finally, we have the strike through style. And basically, it just involves striking through a word or a phrase with a thin stroke in order to convey a canceled or negative meaning. This, again, usually works better when you have varying colors, but can be done with the same color as long as it's still readable, depending on the size of your letters. So those are all the styles that I'm going to go through today. But there are so many different styles that you guys can look and find out there on the web. I created myself a cheat sheet here so that I could get inspiration for any other types of lettering that I want to do. I highly recommend that you create just a master sheet that you can go to for inspiration and reference while you are building out your lettering skills. It's really helpful and inspiring to see different styles and may lead to you creating new styles that you might not have thought of before. Also, too, pens are very important. I wanted to mention getting yourself a variety of different types of pens in different widths and thicknesses and brushes, just so you have that variation to work with, along with a plethora of colors, which can really enhance your lettering overall. So that's it, friends. Different ways to approach adding enhancements and embellishments to lettering in your planner. I've shared a lot of ideas for adding variety to print, cursive, and brush lettering, along with describing how those changes will affect the interpretation of the words you have enhanced or embellished. Hopefully this video will provide you with the ideas on how to make lettering in your planner or journal not only fun, but also interesting too. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below. Also, too, go ahead and leave me a comment if you'd like to get in touch. And think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't already, if you'd like to see more of my videos. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Bye!